Tonight we follow the light. Nothing you can see is happening now. The lamp in your room is a few billionths of a second late. The moon is a second and a bit behind. The sunlight you felt today left the sun 8 minutes before it reached you. And the speed that sets all of this, that steady, unhurried speed, does not belong to light at all. It belongs to the empty space light travels through. We will come to that early, and then simply follow the light outward. Let your breathing settle. Let the facts come in at their own pace. You are welcome to fall asleep at any point. Fact 1. Light takes time to arrive. It is not much time, and for most of our history, nobody could measure it at all. But it is never nothing. The light of every window, every face, every star you have ever looked at reached you a little after it left. Imagine a room in which nothing you see is quite the present moment. The lamp, a few billionths of a second old. The far wall, older still. The sky, older than all of it together. Picture the light setting out from each of those surfaces and crossing to you, patiently, at the same steady pace it keeps everywhere else. As you rest, there is nothing here to correct and nothing to catch up with. There is only a small, even delay laid over the whole world, the same for everyone, and far too gentle for anyone to feel. And so everything you can see is already on its way to you, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 2. The speed does not belong to light. It belongs to empty space. Emptiness is not quite nothing. It has two plain properties, measured long ago with wires and magnets on a laboratory bench. And between them, those two properties decide how quickly a ripple of electricity and magnetism can pass through. They give one answer and one only, and that answer is the speed we have named after light. Imagine an empty room that already holds the answer, long before anything arrives to travel through it. Picture light doing simply what the space around it allows, keeping a pace it was handed rather than a pace of its own. As you rest, this is the answer the whole night leans on, and it is a gentle one. There is nothing here that chose that speed or set it. Light was only the first thing we noticed keeping it. And so the emptiness holds its pace, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 3. Light has no choice in the matter, and the reason is that light has no mass. Mass is the part of a thing that lets it go slowly. It is what lets a stone sit still on a table, what lets anything at all be at rest. Light has none of that. Imagine something that cannot be hurried and cannot be held back because there is nothing in it for either to take hold of. Picture a beam that has never once accelerated. From the moment it exists, it is already going at the only pace open to it, and it keeps that pace until something takes it in. As you rest, notice that there is no effort anywhere in this. Nothing is straining to be quick. There is only a weightless thing doing the one thing a weightless thing can do. And so the light goes on at the pace it was given, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 4. What is traveling is a ripple. An electric field changing in one place raises a magnetic field beside it, and that magnetic field changing raises an electric one just beyond, and the two of them hand each other forward, over and over, with nothing underneath to carry them. That is all light is, a disturbance that keeps itself going. Imagine a low wave crossing water, except that here there is no water, only the pair of fields, each one lifting the next. Picture that handing forward, happening across a room, across an ocean, across the space between the stars. In precisely the same way, in every one of those places. As you rest, there is no engine in this and nothing being pushed from behind. There is only a shape that renews itself as it goes, and cannot help renewing itself. And so the ripple carries itself onward, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 5. In the 1860s, James Clerk Maxwell worked out how quickly such a ripple would have to travel, and he did it without measuring any light at all. He took two numbers found in laboratories, one from experiments with electric charge and one from experiments with magnets, and put them together on paper. Out came a speed. It matched the speed of light that others had already measured with wheels and mirrors. Imagine a quiet room, a page of working, and two numbers from wires and coils giving an answer that turned out to belong to sunlight. Picture how little fuss there needed to be about it. A coincidence noticed, checked, and found to hold. As you rest, that is how it was settled that light is one of these ripples, and not a separate thing at all. There is a plain pleasure in two numbers agreeing, and so the calculation and the measurement met, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 6. So it is not really the speed of light, it is simply the speed, the one pace at which anything without mass is obliged to travel, and the one pace at which anything happening here can come to matter over there. Light happens to be the most visible thing that keeps it. Imagine the rule holding in a place where no light has ever been, some dark stretch of space between the galaxies, empty for its whole existence, with the same limit quietly in force. Picture that limit as a property of the room rather than a property of the furniture, settled and in force, long before there was any furniture at all. As you rest, nothing about it depends on light existing. There is a pace built into emptiness, and everything weightless keeps it, whether or not there is anyone to see. And so the same speed holds everywhere, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 7. There is a way to check that, and it has been done. A ripple in gravity itself, thrown off by the meeting of two collapsed stars, arrived here along with a flash of gamma rays from the same event. The two of them had traveled side by side for about 130 million years. They came in 1 7/10 of a second apart. Imagine two travelers setting out together on a road as long as that, and arriving within a single breath of one another. Neither of them hurried, and neither of them waited. Picture how small the gap is against the journey, a heartbeat at the end of an age. As you rest, that quiet agreement tells us something rather large. The limit is not about light. Gravity keeps it as well. There is one pace, and everything without mass takes it. And so the two signals came in together, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 8. Neutrinos come very close to that pace, but not quite. They carry a tiny amount of mass, and so they always travel a little under the limit. In 1987, a star was seen to collapse in a small neighboring galaxy, and its neutrinos reached us about 3 hours before its light did. They did not overtake the light. They left earlier. Neutrinos slip straight out of the collapsing core the moment it gives way, while the light has to work its way outward through the whole body of the star, and that takes hours. Imagine two people leaving the same house, one through an open door and one through every room in turn. Picture them arriving in that order, exactly as anyone would expect. As you rest, nothing here was broken and nothing was overtaken. There is only a head start and a very long, quiet road. And so the neutrinos came in first, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 9. The speed has a number, and the number is exact. 299,792,458 meters every second. Not approximately that, not that, give or take a little. Exactly that, with nothing left over and no uncertainty attached to it anywhere at all. Imagine a measurement so settled that there is no last digit still being argued about, and no laboratory anywhere still trying to sharpen it. Picture the figure written out in full, long and awkward and entirely deliberate. sitting underneath every other measurement we make. As you rest, you do not need to hold the digits. It is enough to know that one number in the world has been settled and that a great deal of the rest of the night leans on it. There is a rare stillness in a figure nobody needs to check, and so the figure stands where it is, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 10. It is exact because we agreed to make it so. Since 1983, the meter has been defined by the speed of light. A meter is the distance light travels in empty space in 1,299,792,458th of a second. That turns the whole business the other way round. We no longer measure the speed of light. We measure length with it. Imagine a ruler whose markings are set by how long light takes to cross them, rather than by a metal bar lying in a vault somewhere. Picture every length in the world, a table, a road, a wavelength, quietly resting on a stopwatch instead. As you rest, there is something tidy in that arrangement. There is one thing held still, and everything else measured against it. And so, the meter is made out of light, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 11. And that is why the number is such an awkward one. Anyone choosing freely would have chosen 300 million and had done with it. Instead, they chose the number that made the new meter match the old meter exactly, down past the last mark that any instrument could see. Not a single ruler in the world went out of date that night. Imagine a change to the foundation of all measurement, made so carefully that nothing standing on the foundation moved at all. Picture the workshops and the drawing offices the next morning. Every tape and every gauge still correct. Nobody needing to be told a thing. As you rest, let that clumsy string of digits be what it really is. A courtesy. The shape of an old measurement kept faithfully inside a new one. There is a quiet kindness in it, and so the number stays awkward on purpose, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 12. The first sign that light takes any time at all came from a moon of Jupiter. In 1676, Rømer kept a schedule of when that moon slipped into Jupiter's shadow, and the eclipses would not keep to it. When the Earth was on the near side of its orbit, they ran early. When the Earth had swung round to the far side, they ran late. Nothing about Jupiter had changed. The light simply had further to come. Imagine a timetable, wrong by the same amount, in the same way, year after year, until somebody sees the shape of it. Picture him at a cold window, with a clock and a page of times, letting the pattern make itself plain. As you rest, that is all it took. There is a schedule, a great deal of patience, and a willingness to trust an error rather than tidy it away. And so the eclipses came in late, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 13. His figure was not a good one. He worked out that light needed about 22 minutes to cross the width of the Earth's orbit, where the true answer is nearer 16 and a half. So he was out by roughly a quarter. It hardly matters. Before him, careful people had assumed that light arrives everywhere the instant it leaves, that seeing is simply immediate and has no duration in it. He showed that it is not. Imagine how much more that is than any figure could be. The discovery that sight has a delay in it at all. Picture every later measurement, all the careful wheels and mirrors and clocks sitting on top of that one plain result. As you rest, being a quarter wrong about a thing nobody knew existed is a fine night's work. There is more in the finding than in the number. And so the first delay was written down, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 14. Someone had tried before him with lanterns. Galileo describes two men stationed on two hilltops with shuttered lamps. The first uncovers his light. The second uncovers his the moment he sees it, and the time between them is to be measured. They tried it at greater and greater separations. The only quantity they ever managed to measure was their own reaction time. Imagine two small lights on two dark hills, opening and closing, and nothing in the timing ever changing, however far apart the hills were set. Picture the honest sentence written down afterwards. If light takes any time at all, it is far too quick for lanterns. As you rest, let that stand as a good result rather than a failed one. There is real knowledge in finding out that your instrument is too coarse for the thing you are chasing. And so the lanterns went dark on the hills, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 15. The second proof came from stars sitting slightly out of place. In 1728, James Bradley found that every star shifts by a tiny amount over the course of a year, tracing a small yearly loop. And the reason is that we are the ones moving. Light comes in, and we are traveling across its path, so we have to meet it very slightly tilted. Imagine walking through steady rain and holding the umbrella a little forward. The rain is falling straight down, and still you meet it at an angle. Picture that same small lean applied to starlight and to every telescope standing on a moving Earth. As you rest, notice that this was a second and completely separate way of showing that light takes time, found by a man looking for something else entirely. There is a soft luck in that. And so the stars lean a little as we go, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 16. The first measurement made without leaving the ground was done with a toothed wheel. In 1849, Hippolyte Fizeau sent a beam through a gap between the teeth of a spinning wheel, across Paris to a mirror about 8 kilometers away and back again. Turn the wheel slowly, and the light returns through the gap it left by. Turn it faster, and a tooth arrives in time to block it. From the turning of the wheel and the moment the light went dark, the answer follows. Imagine a small brass wheel humming in a garden shed and a mirror on a distant hill, joined by nothing but a thread of light. Picture the figure he came to, within about 5 parts in 100 of the one we use today. As you rest, there is something remarkable in getting that close with a wheel and a mirror. And so the light came back through the teeth, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 17. In 1862, Léon Foucault replaced the wheel with a mirror that spun. Light went out to a distant mirror and came back to the turning one, which had moved a little in the meantime, so the returning beam came off at a slightly different angle. Measure the angle, and you have the time. His answer came closer still to the modern figure. The same man sent light through water and found it crossing more slowly there than in air. Imagine a small bright spot on a wall, sitting a hair to one side of where it started, and that hair being the whole measurement. Picture the tank of water standing beside the bench, its answer waiting quietly to be understood. As you rest, keep hold of that second result. There is a great deal in it, and it comes back later tonight. And so the mirror turned and the spot moved, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 18. Then a very careful experiment found nothing whatever. And the nothing turned out to be the most useful result of the century. In 1887, Michelson and Morley set out to see whether light runs a shade quicker or slower depending on how the Earth is moving through space. Their apparatus floated on a bath of mercury so that it could be turned without a tremor. They turned it every way, and every way the answer came out the same. Imagine an instrument built to find a difference, a long, patient search for that difference, and the difference simply not being there. Picture the two of them turning it again and again through those July days, and getting the same calm zero each time. As you rest, know that this was not a failure and not a collapse. There is an answer in it, and the answer is that the speed does not depend on you. And so the zero stood, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 19. In 1905, a young clerk in a patent office stopped treating that zero as a puzzle. Einstein took it as a starting rule instead. Light travels at the same speed for everyone, however they themselves happen to be moving. Almost everything else follows from that. How clocks run, what counts as the same moment, how much energy a moving thing carries with it. Imagine setting down a question you had been trying to answer and picking it up again as a premise. Picture how much of this night comes out of that one quiet decision made at a desk between other people's paperwork. As you rest, know that nothing was overturned by it and nothing was lost. The zero stayed where it was, only its standing changed. There is one plain sentence laid underneath the whole subject, and everything after it is arithmetic. And so the sameness became the foundation, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 20. One last thing about glass. In glass, the light itself is never slowed. Between the atoms, it always travels at the same speed it does in empty space. What happens is that the atoms take up the light and give it back out again, over and over. And the wave that comes of all this arrives later than it otherwise would. We say the light travels slower in glass, and it is a fair thing to say, but nothing in there has actually been slowed down. Imagine a message passed along a row of people rather than by one runner. Every step at full speed, the message still late. Picture the wave crossing a pane as though at 200,000 kilometers a second, and crossing water a shade more quickly than that. As you rest, there is the whole of the rest of the night in this. Everything you see is late. And so the light comes in behind itself, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 21. The lamp in your room is already late. Its light needs about 10 billionths of a second to cross the small stretch between the bulb and your eyes. So the room you are looking at is the room as it was 10 billionths of a second ago. Imagine the light leaving the lamp in a soft, even spill, unhurried, taking exactly as long to arrive tonight as it did last night. Picture the walls, the ceiling, the edge of the blanket, all of them handing you a picture that was already made and sent before you received it. As you rest, there is nothing here to catch up with. The lateness is much too small to matter, and it has kept you company your whole life. There is a gentle honesty in a room that arrives just after itself. And so the lamplight comes in, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 22. A billionth of a second has a size you can hold. In that much time, light travels about 30 centimeters, roughly the length of a school ruler. And that little stretch is what a nanosecond amounts to. Grace Hopper used to carry lengths of wire cut to exactly that size and hand them out to the people listening to her, so that they could see the thing rather than only hear the word for it. Imagine a small coil of wire being passed along a row of chairs, each person turning a billionth of a second over in their fingers. Picture her keeping a bundle of them in her bag, ready for years. As you rest, let that unit stop being an idea and become something about the length of your hand. There is kindness in taking a number that small and making it something a person can pick up. And so the little wires are handed round, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 23. Hold your hand up in front of you. The light coming off it reaches your eye in about 2 billionths of a second. And then the news of it travels along the nerve into your brain, which takes tens of millions of times longer. The slow part of seeing is not the light. It is us. Imagine the picture waiting inside you for a moment while the body carries it inward at its own gentle pace, never hurrying at all. Picture that same small delay sitting inside every glance you have ever taken, the world always arriving a little before you know it has. As you rest, let your own hand be the nearest late thing in the room, older by the time you know about it than it was in the air. There is something companionable in a body that takes its time with what it is given. And so the hand arrives after itself, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 24. A mirror shows you an out and back journey. The light has to travel from your face to the glass, and then all the way back to your eyes. So the face looking out at you is always a little older than the one doing the looking, by a few billionths of a second every single time. Imagine standing at the basin late in the evening while the light makes that short return trip over and over, steadily, for as long as you stand there. Picture the same unvarying lateness in every mirror you have ever used, in every room, in every house you have lived in. As you rest, know that nobody has ever seen their own face in the present tense, and that nobody has ever missed it. There is a soft kind of comfort in a lateness so faithful that it has never once let anyone down. And so the reflection comes back late, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 25. Light goes round the Earth about 7.5 times in a single second. That sounds like hurry. And yet a line of text sent to you from the other side of the world still arrives a little late. It goes through optical fiber, where light is slower than it is in empty space, and the cable does not run straight, but follows the floor of the ocean around every bend it was laid along. Imagine a thread of light bending its way through the deep water, patient, keeping to the coastlines it was given. Picture the words at each end waiting their turn while the light does its unhurried work beneath the sea. As you rest, let the quick number be softened by the small lateness it never quite escapes. There is something steadying in a speed that still has to take the long way round. And so the message comes in late, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 26. A call to a communications satellite in a high orbit needs about 1/8 of a second each way, which makes 1/4 of a second before your voice comes down on the other side. That small delay, doubled by the time an answer comes back, is the pause you can hear on certain long calls, the small gap in which both people begin speaking at once, stop, and then apologize to one another. Imagine a voice going up through the entire thickness of the sky, touching one small, quiet machine, and coming down again somewhere else altogether. Picture the two speakers, each politely waiting for a silence that is already on its way to them. As you rest, let that be a lateness you have heard with your own ears rather than only read about. There is something ordinary and lovely in a delay that shows itself only as good manners. And so the voices come round in turn, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 27. The moon is 1¼ seconds behind. Its light takes that long to reach us. So the moon you look up at tonight is the moon as it was a second and a bit ago. The same face, the same pale light lying along the same craters, already passed by the time it finds you. Imagine looking out of the window and letting that small gap sit between you and the sky, unchanging, the same tonight as on any other night of your life. Picture the light leaving that grey surface, crossing the dark, and arriving at the glass while you are still settling into your pillow. As you rest, let 1¼ seconds be the first lateness of the evening that you could count out loud. There is a quiet friendliness in a neighbour who is only a moment behind. And so the moon comes in a second late, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 28. In the old recordings from the Apollo missions, there is always the same pause. A question is asked from the ground, and the answer begins about 2½ seconds later, every time. No matter who is speaking or what is being said, it is not hesitation, and it is not anybody thinking. It is the road out and the road back. Imagine the tapes running on and on, that same small gap opening in every single exchange. As regular as a metronome, nobody had to set. Picture the voices being unfailingly patient with it, waiting through it, never once mentioning that it was there at all. As you rest, let that pause be the sound of lateness itself, recorded by accident and kept ever since. There is something touching in people learning to talk politely across a gap they had no way of closing. And so the answers follow late, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 29. There are small panels of shaped glass lying on the surface of the moon, left there by 3 of the crews who landed and by unmanned machines since. Send a pulse of light up at one of them, and it comes back to you about 2½ seconds later, aimed home by the shape of the glass. They have been doing this for more than half a century now, with nobody visiting them and nothing inside them that could wear out. Imagine a little grid of mirrors sitting in grey dust, waiting through one long lunar night after another. Picture the returning light arriving so faint that only a few specks of it are gathered from each pulse sent up. As you rest, let those panels be the most patient instruments anybody has ever left anywhere. There is something restful in a machine with no moving parts and no need of us. And so the pulse comes home, resting quietly in the dust. Fact 30. The sunlight that warmed your face today left the sun about 8 minutes and 20 seconds before it touched you. It was already on its way while you were still indoors, before you thought of going out, before you opened the door. Every warm afternoon anybody has ever had was made of light that set off a little earlier. Imagine that steady crossing going on all the time, above the clouds and behind them, arriving whether anyone is out in it or not. Picture the window in the late afternoon, the warm square of light lying across the floor, made of something that had been traveling since before you sat down beside it. As you rest, let the warmth you remember from today be older than the moment in which you felt it. There is a mild pleasure in being kept warm by something already past. And so the old light lies across the floor, resting quietly in the warm. Fact 31. Outside the sun, that light needs 8 minutes. Inside it, the same energy needed very much longer to get out at all. It works its way from the core to the surface by being taken up and passed on again, over and over. And the estimates of how long that takes differ a great deal. tens of thousands of years, and by some accounts, a good deal longer than that. Imagine something making its way through a crowd so dense that every step is a handing on rather than a stride. Picture the two halves of the journey side by side, an age spent getting out and 8 quiet minutes to cross to us. As you rest, let the sunlight you remember be old in a way that has nothing to do with the sky at all. There is something calming in a slowness that ends so gently. And so the ancient warmth arrives, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 32. Venus is not always the same age by the time it reaches us. Depending on where the two of us happen to be along our own paths, its light reaches us in anything from about 2.5 minutes to about 14. The lateness of a neighbor is not a fixed thing. It drifts up and down across the months, slowly, without anybody adjusting it. Imagine a delay that breathes in and out over a couple of years, longer for a while, then shorter again, then longer once more. Picture the evening star hanging low after sunset, on some nights only a few minutes old, and on others a good deal older, looking exactly the same either way. As you rest, let that be an easy thing to hold. Even the age of a light is allowed to change with the season. There is something forgiving about a number that wanders. And so Venus comes in at her own pace, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 33. A radio signal to Mars takes somewhere between 3 and 22 minutes one way, depending on where we both are at the time. That is why a rover there cannot be driven the way a car is driven. Instead, it is sent a plan for the day, and once the plan has arrived, it works through it by itself, deciding the small things as it goes along. Imagine the instructions being written out in the evening, read to the machine hours afterwards, and carried out with nobody watching any of it happen. Picture it stopping on its own in front of something in the way, choosing another path and carrying on. As you rest, let that be an unhurried working arrangement rather than any kind of difficulty. There is a quiet trust in sending somebody a day's worth of intentions and letting them get on with it. And so the plan is read and followed, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 34. Jupiter is between 35 and 52 minutes old by the time we see it, and Saturn is over an hour. Out there, the post is slow. An instruction sent to a spacecraft at Saturn is read there when the morning at home has already turned into the afternoon, and the reply belongs to another part of the day. Imagine a correspondence in which nobody ever waits by the door, because there would be no purpose in it, and every letter is written in the knowledge that it will be opened much later. Picture the striped one and the ringed one hanging in the evening sky, both of them showing us hours that have already happened and finished. As you rest, let the outer part of our own system keep its own unhurried timetable. There is something companionable about places that never expect an immediate answer from anyone. And so the outer worlds send their old light in, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 35. Neptune is about 4 hours behind. An instruction sent out to anything out there at breakfast is only being read at lunchtime, and the answer would not be home before the evening. The outer edge of our own system already keeps a timetable measured in half days. Imagine a message going out across the morning and arriving into somebody else's afternoon, unopened until then, with nothing at either end that could be done to hurry it along. Picture the small blue point of light itself, so faint that no unaided eye has ever reliably picked it out, showing us a face from 4 hours ago. As you rest, let the length of a working day be the unit here, rather than the second or the minute. There is something restful about a place where nothing at all is able to be urgent. And so the old blue light comes in, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 36. A signal sent to Voyager 1 now takes just under a full day to reach it, one way. And on the 18th of November, in the year 2026, in the small hours of the morning, it becomes exactly one light day from Earth. The moment was worked out in advance, down to the minute. It will be the first thing ever made by human hands that light itself needs a whole day to get to. Imagine that quiet anniversary passing while almost nobody is awake to mark it. The spacecraft not noticing, the day simply arriving as expected. Picture the little craft going steadily on afterwards, a day old, then a day and a little more, then a little more again. As you rest, let it be an occasion rather than any sort of ending. There is something dignified in a machine that keeps an appointment nobody told it about. And so the old traveler passes its light day, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 37. So there is no conversation with Voyager 1, only correspondence. An instruction takes nearly a day to get out there, and the reply takes nearly a day to come home, which makes the whole exchange something close to 2 days long. We send a letter today and read the answer the day after tomorrow. Imagine the people on the ground going home in between, sleeping, coming back in the morning, and finding the reply already waiting for them. Picture the craft doing what it was asked to do in the meantime, on its own, the answer traveling back before anybody has thought to look for it. As you rest, let that be an entirely workable way of keeping in touch, rather than a poor one. There is something calm in an arrangement where nobody is ever expected to answer at once. And so the letters cross in their own time, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 38. A light year is not really a measure of space at all. It is how far light gets in a year, which means that whenever somebody says a star is 4 light years away, what they are really telling you is that its light is 4 years old. The unit has been quietly measuring age the whole time. Imagine the words being turned around like that every time you hear them, until they stop being about maps and become about time instead. Picture the sky relabeled that way. This one 9 years, that one 60, that faint one many thousands, every point of light carrying a small date. As you rest, let every number you have ever heard about the stars soften into an age. There is something restful in a unit that has been telling us about time all along without saying so. And so the years come in one after another, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 39. The nearest star to our own is Proxima, and its light is about 4¼ years old by the time it reaches us. What arrives tonight set out in the spring of the year 2022 and has been traveling steadily ever since. In the same sky, Sirius is 8½ years old, and the pole star is something like 450, a figure the people who measure such things are still gently arguing over. Imagine a single glance upward, taking in pictures made in quite different years. Picture the sky as a wall of photographs hung together, not one of them taken on the same day as another. As you rest, let the stars stop being one scene and become many, all arriving at once by coincidence. There is a soft strangeness in a view assembled out of different times. And so the old lights sit side by side, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 40. On a dark night, well away from any town, the eye can just make out one faint smudge of light, and that light is about 2½ million years old. It is about the oldest thing anybody can see unaided on any ordinary night. What reaches you tonight set out before there was anyone here to look up at it, and it has been on its way ever since. Imagine that patient arrival happening every single night, whether the sky is clear or not, whether anyone is outside. Picture the whole sky in the same way now. Not a photograph of one moment, but an archive. Every part of it a different age, all still coming in. As you rest, know that nothing up there has been taken from us. It is simply still traveling. There is something restful in a sky that is not a picture of now, but a long arrival. And so the archive comes in, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 41. This is not really a speed limit for light. It is the speed at which one thing can come to matter to another. Nothing that happens here can reach there any sooner than light could carry the news. Light is simply the first messenger we noticed using it. Imagine a small movement in one room, and the news of that movement setting out through the walls and the air at a fixed and patient pace, arriving in its own time. Picture the same rule holding for every kind of news there is: a push, a pull, a flash, a change of any sort, none of it able to overtake the rest. As you rest, let this be the shape of everything ahead tonight. Not a rule set against anyone, but the pace at which one part of the world becomes real to another. There is nothing here pressing against anything, and so the news travels on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 42. A massless thing has no way of going slowly, and a heavy thing has no way of going that fast. Mass is the quality that lets a thing sit still. A stone can rest on a table and can be carried at any ordinary pace you please, because it has mass enough to hold a place of its own. Light has none, so there is no pace available to it except the one. Imagine two kinds of things sharing one world, those that can stop and those that can only travel. Picture the lamp on the table, heavy and settled and going nowhere, and the light leaving it, which cannot be still for a moment. As you rest, notice there is no contest between them, and nothing ranked above anything. Only two different natures, each doing the one thing available to it. There is a symmetry in that, and nothing in it is forbidden. And so both keep to their natures, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 43. Heavy things do not arrive at the limit, and the reason is a matter of cost rather than of rules. The faster a thing travels, the more it takes to add the next small piece of speed. The energy goes in, but less and less of it comes out as speed. The rest adds to what the thing already carries. The last sliver costs more than the whole of the journey up to it. Imagine wading out into water that deepens with every step. Nothing stops you, and each step is a little shorter than the one before. Picture a long slope that never turns vertical and never quite levels out either, going on gently for as far as anyone cares to walk. As you rest, there is nothing to collide with in this, and nothing that turns anybody back. There is only a price that rises, quietly and without end. And so the climb goes gently on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 44. So the limit is not reached, it is approached. First 99% of it, then 99.9, then another 9 after that, and another, each one costing more than everything that was spent before it. The 9s can be added for as long as there is patience and power to add them. And there is always room for one more. Imagine a staircase whose steps grow shallower and shallower towards the top, while the top itself never quite arrives. Picture something climbing that staircase steadily, passing step after step in its own time, never striking anything, never being sent back. As you rest, Let it be an approach without an arrival, which is a far gentler thing than it sounds. Nothing here fails, and nothing here is closed off. There is only a place that can be neared, and neared again, and neared once more. And so the nines gather, one after another, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 45. In the largest of our accelerators, protons are brought up to about 99.9999991% of the speed of light. And then they go on like that, hour after hour, round the same ring, gaining nothing further. The work of the machine after that is not to push them any faster, but to keep them steady and gathered together. Imagine a tunnel deep beneath farmland, cold and dark and very quiet, with two thin streams of matter circling inside it all night. Picture the fields above it, the grass and the road and the sleeping houses, entirely undisturbed by any of it. As you rest, there is no straining down there, and no effort you would recognize as effort, only a steady circle, held for hours by patient machinery. There is something restful in a speed that has nowhere further to go. And so the protons circle on, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 46. Now and then a single particle arrives from somewhere out in space, traveling a hair below the limit, carrying more energy than anything we can make. The most famous of them was recorded one October night in 1991, and a few others have turned up since, rarely and without warning. We do not chase these, we wait, and we count. Imagine a stretch of high desert with detectors spread quietly across it, standing out under the stars year after year, most nights recording nothing at all. Picture one such particle arriving after all that waiting, a single, silent entry into the upper air, over in an instant, leaving only a faint shower of light for the instruments to gather. As you rest, know that these arrive at about 1 to each square kilometer, and we simply wait for them. There is patience in a science built on waiting, and so the rare ones drift in, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 47. The fastest craft people have ever sent anywhere is a small probe that passed close by the Sun, moving at about 692,000 kilometers an hour. Set beside light, that is 0.06%. The probe would need something close to half an hour to cover what light covers in a single second. This is not a sad comparison. Imagine the probe out in the dark, wrapped in its pale shield, going about its work with no sense of being slow. Picture what it does cover. At that pace, it would cross from the Sun to the Earth in a matter of days, on a craft the size of a small car. As you rest, let the difference between those two speeds be a plain fact rather than a shortfall. Nobody out there is trying to catch anything. There is no race in progress anywhere in the sky. And so the probe goes about its rounds, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 48. Around you at this moment, there is a region of everything that has had time to reach you. It is not a fixed region. It widens as fast as light travels, in every direction at once. And it has been widening since the day you were born. What lies outside it has not been taken away from you. It is simply not here yet. Imagine a soft edge moving outward through the dark, gathering places in as it goes, without effort and without sound. Picture the far-off things beyond that edge, each one sending its light this way, all of them already on the road. As you rest, all the light already traveling towards you is still coming, and none of it has been refused you. Some of it arrives tonight, some in 100 years, some long after that. There is nothing withheld here, only things that are still traveling. And so the edge widens gently, still arriving, still on its way. Fact 49. The same holds in the other direction. Everything that happens here goes out from this place in a widening circle at that same steady pace. And it does not stop, and it does not come to nothing. The light from your window tonight is already past the moon. Before morning, it will be out beyond the outer planets, and it will keep going long after the room has gone dark. Imagine a ring spreading outward from a single quiet moment, reaching one place and then the next, taking each in its own turn. Picture it crossing the space between the stars for centuries, thinner and fainter as it goes, still perfectly on its way. As you rest, nothing that has happened here is lost, and nothing is finished. It has only set out. There is nothing final in it. Everything ever sent from this world is somewhere at this moment, still traveling. And so it all goes outward, resting quietly on its way. Fact 50. Because news takes time to travel, the idea of now turns out to be a local thing. Two events far apart may fall in the same moment for one observer and in different moments for another who is moving differently. And both accounts are correct. There is no master clock hung somewhere in the middle of things to settle the matter. Imagine two people passing each other on a road, each with a perfectly good watch, each reporting honestly what their own instruments show them. Picture their two accounts of a distant pair of events, laid down side by side, differing a little, and neither one of them wrong. As you rest, this asks nothing of you and changes nothing you can see. At the pace of ordinary life, the difference is far too small for anyone to notice. There is no disorder in it, and nothing to keep hold of. And so the moment stays local, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 51. And here is the part that settles it. The order of two events can differ only when the two could not have touched one another in any way, when they lie too far apart for even light to have carried anything from the one to the other. Wherever one thing did, in fact, cause another, every observer agrees on which of them came first. Cause and effect never change places for anyone, anywhere. Imagine a rule quietly holding the world in sequence. The striking of the match always before the flame. The word always before the hearing of it. Picture the limit not as something that keeps things apart, but as the thing that keeps the story in its proper order. As you rest, this is what the limit is for. There is no restriction laid over the world here. It is the reason anything happens in an order that makes sense. And so the sequence holds, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 52. A clock that is moving runs a little slow. And this is not an argument on paper, but something measured over and over with real instruments. The effect is small at ordinary speeds and grows only as a thing draws near the limit. Nothing is wrong with the moving clock. It keeps perfect time for everything that travels along with it. Imagine two identical watches, one left on a table and one carried away on a long journey, brought back together afterwards with the faintest disagreement between them. Picture that disagreement turning out to be exactly the size that was worked out beforehand, down to the last small fraction. As you rest, nothing here is an illusion and nothing has broken. Time is not one single river running through everything. It is something each thing carries along with it, at its own pace. There is a quiet generosity in that, and so the clocks keep their own time, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 53. High in the air, some 15 kilometers above the ground, Particles called muons are made when something from space strikes the top of the atmosphere. A muon lasts, on average, about 2/millionths of a second, and in that time it ought to manage only a few hundred meters. Yet they reach the surface in great numbers, and always have. The reason is not extra speed, it is that less time passes for them than passes for us. Imagine a soft shower of small travelers coming down through the dark, each one lasting far longer in our reckoning than it does in its own. Picture them passing through the roof, through the room, through you, quietly, and all night long, leaving nothing behind them. As you rest, this is measured routinely with equipment that sits on a bench. There is something homely about a proof that falls on the house till morning. And so the muons come down, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 54. In 1971, two researchers took atomic clocks aboard ordinary passenger flights and carried them right around the world, once eastward and once westward, and then set them beside the clocks that had stayed at home. The traveling clocks disagreed with the resting ones by tens and by hundreds of billionths of a second, in the directions and by the amounts that had been worked out in advance. Imagine those instruments strapped into their seats like passengers, humming to themselves at altitude, while below them the meals went round and the cabin lights were dimmed. Picture the quiet arithmetic afterwards. Two columns of figures, a prediction and a measurement, sitting together and agreeing. As you rest, this was not so much a discovery as a piece of bookkeeping, done carefully and then filed away. There is comfort in a result nobody needed to argue about. And so the clocks came home a little apart, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 55. People sometimes ask what it would be like to travel along with a beam of light. The honest answer is that the question has no answer. The theory is built on light moving at the same speed for everyone, so there is no place to stand alongside it and look out. It is not a secret being kept from us. It is simply a question the theory does not take. Imagine a map that is careful and complete everywhere it goes and simply has no page for one spot. Picture the beam continuing on its way, quite unbothered, carrying its news as it always has. As you rest, let this one stay open and unfinished, which is a restful thing rather than a troubling one. Not everything that can be said in words has a meaning waiting behind it. There is no loss in setting the question gently down. And so the light goes on ahead, still arriving, still on its way. Fact 56. Close to a black hole, light travels at exactly the same speed it does anywhere else. It does not slow, and it does not tire. What is missing there is not speed. What is missing is a road leading outward. Near enough in, every path that light can take bends round and leads back inward again. Imagine a wide valley whose sides all lean the same way, so that a road laid down in any direction still runs quietly downhill. Picture the light setting off just as briskly as it does from the lamp in your room, going the only way there is to go. As you rest, there is nothing here holding on to anything and nothing being caught. There is only a place where the directions have been rearranged. It is the absence of a turning, not a hand closing. And so the light goes steadily on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 57. A little further out from such a place, there is a thin layer where light can travel in a circle. A beam sent sideways at just that height goes all the way around and comes back to the spot it started from, having neither fallen inward nor climbed away. The layer is narrow, and a beam has to be aimed very exactly indeed to keep to it. Imagine a single ray making one slow, closed loop in the dark, returning to where it set out and going round again. Picture the shape of it as a plain piece of geometry, a circle drawn by light itself, with nothing at all holding the pen. As you rest, let that be the last of these places we visit tonight. There is something almost restful in a path that simply returns, over and over, asking nothing and going nowhere in particular. And so the ray comes round again, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 58. In 2011, a team working under the mountains of central Italy measured neutrinos arriving from a laboratory near Geneva and found them coming in about 60 billionths of a second earlier than light would have. They did not announce a discovery. They published the discrepancy as they had found it, said plainly that they could not account for it, and asked the rest of the field to come and look. Imagine a room of people checking their own work first, in the careful way that careful people do, and then opening the whole of it for everybody else to check as well. Picture the long tunnels, the detectors down in the rock, the timing equipment being gone over line by line. As you rest, this is how the checking is meant to go. And it is a quiet, unglamorous business. There is no drama in it anywhere. And so the question went out for checking, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 59. The following year they found it, and there were two causes rather than one. A fiber optic connector between the timing receiver and the main clock had not been seated firmly, which shifted the readings. And an oscillator in the same timing chain was running very slightly fast. Once both were put right, the neutrinos arrived just when light would have, and the earlier result was withdrawn. Imagine a loose plug at the end of a cable in a rack of equipment, of no consequence in any other week of its life. Picture the same team writing the correction up and publishing it themselves, with the same care they gave the first announcement. As you rest, nothing was lost in this, and nobody was diminished by it. A measurement was made, doubted, examined, and mended, which is the whole of the method in one small story. There is something steadying in that, and so the record was quietly amended, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 60. There is a name for a particle that would always travel above the limit, and the name is tachyon. It was proposed long ago as a piece of arithmetic, and its habits were worked out with care. It would lose speed as it gained energy and could never slow down to a pace like ours. People have looked for one in accelerators, in cosmic rays, and in the records of every large detector. As far as anyone can tell, nobody has ever found one. Imagine an idea carried carefully for many years, examined honestly and never confirmed. Picture the searching as a calm sort of housekeeping, done thoroughly and then set gently aside. As you rest, there is nothing missing from the world for want of it. And there are, all the same, things that do look faster than light, and every one of them is perfectly in order. And so the looking goes gently on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 61. There are a few things in nature that look faster than light. Not many, but a few. And they turn up in quite ordinary places. On a wall, in a tank of water, in photographs taken years apart. None of them breaks anything. The limit has always applied to one particular thing. A signal traveling through space, carrying news from one place to another. Anything that is not that is simply not covered by the rule, and never was. Imagine a rule written carefully enough that it says exactly what it means and nothing more. Picture the things that seem to slip past it, one after another, each one turning out on a closer look to be something else entirely. As you rest, there is nothing here to be alarmed by, and nothing that needs mending. There is only a limit doing precisely the job it was given, without fuss. And so the rule holds, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 62. The most distant galaxies we know of are moving away from us more quickly than light could travel, and nothing there is breaking any rule. Nothing in those places is traveling quickly at all. Each one sits more or less still among its neighbors, going about its business at an ordinary pace. What changes is the space between us. It keeps on growing gently everywhere at once, and enough of it lies in between that the growing adds up. Imagine two houses at opposite edges of a field that is quietly being made larger, neither of them moving, and the ground itself widening between them. Picture the distance rising steadily without a single thing having to hurry. As you rest, know that the limit was never a rule about how far apart two things may drift. There is nothing strained anywhere in this, and so the distance grows, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 63. It is worth saying plainly because everything in this part of the night rests on it. The limit applies to movement through space. It says how quickly a thing may cross the ground between here and there. It says nothing at all about the ground itself, whether it holds still or stretches or does anything else, and it never claimed to. Imagine a rule about how fast a walker may go along a road, which has no opinion whatever on how long the road is, or on whether the road is being lengthened at the far end. Picture the walker keeping an even pace the whole way, entirely within the rule, while the journey quietly becomes a longer one. As you rest, there is no contradiction hiding anywhere in this. There is a careful rule about travelers and a separate, larger question about the map, and so both stay true together, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 64. Put a hand near a lamp, and the edge of its shadow falls across the far wall. Move your hand a little, and that edge sweeps along the wall, far faster than your hand ever moved. And were the wall far enough away, faster than light could cross the same stretch. Nothing has gone wrong. Nothing is traveling along the wall at all. No piece of shadow leaves one end and arrives at the other. What happens is that different parts of the wall stop being lit, one after another, each one darkening on its own, from light that came straight from the lamp. Imagine a long row of small lamps switching off in order down a corridor, with nothing passing between them. Picture how quickly that darkness could seem to run, and how little is actually going anywhere. As you rest, there is nothing there to catch up with. There is a pattern, and not a passenger. And so the shadow sweeps on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 65. The same is true of a spot of light. If you shone a small laser at the moon and turned your wrist, the bright spot would cross its surface more quickly than light could cross it. And still, nothing has moved from one side to the other. The spot is not an object making a journey. Each patch of ground lights up because a fresh piece of light has just arrived from here, traveling the ordinary way at the ordinary speed, having left your hand a second and a bit earlier. Imagine an easy turn of the wrist and a bright mark sliding calmly over the grey. Picture every part of that mark arriving separately, straight down from where you are standing, none of it ever running sideways. As you rest, there is nothing hurrying across that ground. There is only a place being lit, and then another, And so the spot drifts on, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 66. There is one plain test for all of this, and it settles every case. The test is whether a person standing where the shadow ends can learn anything about where the shadow began. The answer is no, and it is no every time. To make the mark move, you had to be here, at the lamp or at the laser, and everything the far end receives came from here as well, at the usual speed. The pattern carries nothing of its own. Imagine trying to whisper a message by drawing a long curtain shut, span by span, and finding that only the hand on the curtain ever knew anything. Picture the far wall, lit and lit again, holding no news whatever. As you rest, that is the whole of the distinction the rule cares about. A pattern may hurry, a message may not. And so the test comes out the same each time, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 67. Inside certain materials, the crests of a light wave move along faster than light does in empty space. That sounds like a problem, and it is not, because a crest is not a message. The news a wave carries rides on its leading edge, the first moment at which anything arrives at all. And that edge never overtakes the ordinary speed in any material yet tested. The crests behind it are only a shape the wave makes as it goes, and shapes are allowed to be quick. Imagine a long ripple coming in towards a shore, with the pattern inside it sliding forward faster than the ripple as a whole. Picture the very first faint lift of the water reaching the sand, the only moment that counts. As you rest, the front of the wave sits exactly where the rule expects it. There is no message running on ahead. And so the crests slide on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 68. In some experiments, a pulse of light seems to leave a material a little before it enters. The peak of the outgoing pulse comes out early, and the measurements look, for a moment, like something out of order. Nothing has arrived early. A pulse is not a point. It is a long, soft hill of light, with a faint leading slope, and the material simply builds its answer out of that slope, favoring the front of the hill and quieting the back of it. The shape shifts forward. The information does not. Imagine a hill of sand being reshaped from the front as it passes, so that its summit ends up a little further along. Picture the very first grain of it, which arrives exactly when it always would have. As you rest, nothing has outrun anything here. There is only a shape gently rearranged in passing. And so the pulse goes through, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 69. A fast electron can travel through water more quickly than light travels through that same water. Not more quickly than light in empty space. Nothing does that. But more quickly than light manages while making its way among the atoms of the water. When that happens, the water gives off a soft blue light. It is the glow that fills the pools where used reactor fuel is kept. An even blue, sitting in clear water, giving off no sound and no movement. Pavel Cherenkov measured it carefully in the 1930s, and the glow carries his name. Imagine looking down through several meters of still water at a color with no flicker in it. Picture how patient that light is, hour after hour, with nobody in the room. As you rest, know that nothing in it is restless. There is a blue that does not waver, and nothing else. And so the water glows, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 70. The glow has a simple shape behind it. A boat moving faster than the waves it makes leaves a wake spreading out behind it in a widening V, because the waves cannot get out in front. The same thing happens here, with light in place of water. The electron outruns the light it stirs up in the water around it, and everything it stirs up gathers into a cone trailing along behind. What we see is that cone, arriving all at once, evenly, from every part of its path. Imagine the wake of a slow boat on a still lake, opening out behind it and never catching up. Picture that same tidy angle drawn in blue underwater, far too small and far too quick to watch. As you rest, this is not a flash and not a burst. There is a wake and a color and nothing else. And so the cone spreads out, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 71. That glow turned out to be useful. Some particles pass through matter so easily that they leave almost no other trace. And the way we catch them is to fill an enormous tank with very pure water, put it deep underground where little else can reach, and line the walls with patient detectors, watching for a faint ring of blue. On most nights, almost nothing happens. Now and then, one ring appears, and from the shape of it, we can tell which way the particle came. Imagine a dark hall the size of a cathedral, filled with still water under a mountain. Picture thousands of glass eyes turned inward on that water, holding their attention year after year. As you rest, this is one of the quietest kinds of work there is, waiting in the dark for a blue circle that may not come tonight. There is no hurry in any of it, and so the tank waits, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 72. Photographs taken years apart show something else that looks too quick. Material thrown out from the center of a distant galaxy in a long, narrow stream pointed almost straight towards us appears in those pictures to be crossing the sky several times faster than light could. In the best-known case, the stream seems to move at about 6 times the ordinary speed. It is not doing anything of the kind. What the pictures record is not the stream itself, but the arrival times of its light, and those have been quietly squeezed together. Imagine photographs laid out along a table, each taken a year after the last, with a bright knot a little further along in every one. Picture how naturally anyone would read that as speed. As you rest, nothing out there has broken any rule. Only the pictures mislead. There is an explanation, and it is a gentle one. And so the stream drifts on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 73. Here is how the squeezing happens. The material is moving quickly, and it is moving nearly towards us, so it very nearly keeps pace with the light it sends ahead. Light that leaves it 1 year has a long way to travel. Light that leaves it the next year sets off from much closer in and has less ground to cover. So the two pictures arrive far nearer together than the year that separated them. Years of movement reach us bundled into months. Imagine somebody calling out once a year while walking slowly towards you, so that the calls reach you almost together. Picture the listener working out a speed from how closely the calls arrived and getting a number too large. As you rest, the movement out there is real and fast, and still slower than light. There is only perspective doing the rest. And so the picture straightens out, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 74. 2 particles can be prepared together so that afterwards they are described as one thing rather than 2. Measure one, and you know at once what the other would give. However far apart they have been carried since. That much is real and has been tested many times over. What it cannot do is carry a message. That is not a gap waiting to be filled in by better equipment. It is a settled result, worked out carefully and confirmed, and it holds for every arrangement yet devised. Imagine two halves of one description, kept in step by the way they were made rather than by anything passing between them. Picture them being taken to opposite ends of a country and still answering as a pair. As you rest, nothing has been sent between them, and nothing needed to be. There is a matching and no courier. And so the pair stays matched, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 75. The reason no message can be sent is worth hearing, because it is very plain. Whichever side you stand on, what you write down is a column of results with no order in it, as good as noise, and no different from noise, whatever the other side chose. Nothing in your own column ever shifts. The pattern only appears when the two columns are laid side by side, and to do that, somebody has to carry one of them to the other, by telephone or by post, or by any ordinary means. That journey goes at the usual speed and never faster. Imagine two long lists of coin tosses, each one perfectly unremarkable on its own. Picture the moment the two lists are read together and the match comes out. As you rest, the news still had to travel the whole way. There is no shortcut hidden here, and so both lists wait, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 76. There is a procedure with a rather grand name, teleportation, and it is real, and it does move the state of one particle onto another some distance away. It also needs the post. The measurement made at the sending end produces a small handful of quite ordinary information, and until that handful arrives by an ordinary channel, the receiving end has nothing usable, only a particle in no particular condition waiting to be told what to do with itself. So the whole procedure moves at the speed of the message, which is the speed of everything else. Imagine a parcel that can only be opened once the note that came with it arrives in the normal way. Picture that note traveling by the same roads as every other note. As you rest, nothing is lost in this arrangement. There is a lovely piece of work that keeps ordinary manners, and so the note travels on, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 77. In the last year of the 1990s, a pulse of light was sent through a small cloud of sodium atoms, chilled until they barely moved, and it came out of the far side, having crossed the cloud at about 17 meters a second. That is the pace of somebody on a bicycle. What was slowed was the pulse, the shape of it, the parcel of light as a whole, and not the light within, which, between the atoms, goes at the speed it always goes. The atoms take the light up and hand it back, over and over, and the parcel creeps. Imagine a bicycle keeping pace with a beam of light for a moment, in a very cold, quiet room. Picture how little fuss there was in the doing of it. As you rest, nothing was forced to slow. There is only a shape gently held back. And so the pulse crosses, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 78. Then the same idea was taken a step further, and the pulse was stopped all together. The atoms take the light up as before and are held so they do not hand it back, and for a moment the light is not there at all. What remains is the pattern of it, kept in the arrangement of the atoms. Release the hold, and the atoms give it back out again, with the shape it had. Nothing was lost in the meantime, it was only looked after. Imagine handing something to somebody to keep for you, and being given it back unchanged a little later. Picture a room in which a small piece of light waits, folded into cold matter, for as long as the matter is asked to hold it. As you rest, there is no straining in this and no loss. There is a thing set down and then picked up again. And so the pattern waits, resting quietly in the cold. Fact 79. The same thing, much fainter, happens in ordinary glass. In a window, in a lens, in the glass beside you, the light is never slowed. Between the atoms, it travels at exactly the speed it does in empty space. What happens is that the atoms take the light up and give it back out again, over and over. And the wave that comes of all this arrives later than it otherwise would. We say the light goes slower in glass, and it is a fair thing to say, but nothing in there has actually been slowed down. Imagine a queue at a door where everyone moves briskly and the queue still takes its time. Picture the bend in a spoon standing in water, the lateness made visible. As you rest, nothing unusual is happening on your table. There is only a lateness and a bent spoon. And so the glass holds its light, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 80. So none of them broke it. Not the shadow on the wall, not the spot of light, not the crests inside the material, not the blue in the water, not the stream in the photographs, not the pair of particles. Each looked for a moment like an exception, and each turned out to be something the rule had never been speaking about. The limit holds, and it holds without effort, the way a floor holds. Imagine a rule, tested in every way anybody could think of, that has simply gone on being true, quietly, for more than 100 years. Picture how little it asks of anything in order to keep working. As you rest, there is nothing left in any of this to be uneasy about. There is a steady limit, and we live our whole lives inside it, which is the gentlest part of all. And so the rule keeps, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 81. Everything people do beyond the Earth is arranged as post rather than as conversation. A conversation needs a reply that comes back while the question is still warm, and out there a reply never does. So the work is written instead. A message is composed, sent, and left to travel on its own, and the answer is read whenever it comes in. Imagine a letter set down on a table in the morning, already on its way to a place it will not reach today. Picture the people who work like this, unhurried by long habit, choosing their words carefully because nothing can be corrected once it has gone. As you rest, there is nothing anxious in the arrangement. Post is a calm way to do things. It asks only that you send clearly and then wait. There is patience built into the shape of it. And so the letters go out, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 82. In practice, it looks like large dishes standing in quiet places, a timetable of sessions, and the day's instructions sent up in the morning. The dish is aimed at one patch of sky, the message is released, and then the aerial is handed on to the next craft on the list. Somebody notes the hour it left. Somebody else will be sitting there when the answer arrives. Imagine an office where the post is measured in hours of travel rather than in stamps, and where nothing comes any sooner for being urgent. Picture a room with the lights low and a screen showing a faint signal coming in at the expected minute, exactly as it was expected to. As you rest, that is the whole rhythm of it. Send, wait, read, send again. There is a steadiness in work that simply cannot be hurried along. And so the schedule is kept, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 83. Because of that delay, the craft have to be able to act on their own. A landing on a far-off surface begins and finishes inside a few minutes. And the first word that it has begun is still crossing the space between us when it is already over. So nobody steers it. The plan is written well beforehand, checked and handed across. And the craft carries it out with no one watching in the present tense. Imagine an instruction posted long in advance and followed precisely at an hour when the sender is asleep. Picture the people at home hearing about a landing that ended before the news reached them, so that everything they learn arrives already settled. As you rest, there is nothing tense in this. By the time the word arrived, the outcome had long been settled, quietly, far away. There is calm in news that is already finished. And so the news comes in, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 84. Out of that has grown a whole habit of working. Exploration beyond the moon has been conducted entirely by letter, from the first craft sent past it to the ones still going now. Every command was written down, sent, and awaited. Not one urgent conversation has taken place in the whole history of it, and not one was ever needed. Imagine a correspondence that has run for decades without a single interruption, each message answered in its turn and never before. Picture the archives of it, pages of instructions going up and pages of readings coming back, every one of them marked with the hour it left and the hour it arrived. As you rest, there is something restful in a craft that has never once been rushed. It goes on doing whatever the last letter asked until the next letter reaches it. There is no impatience anywhere in it. And so the post continues, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 85. The same lateness does something useful much closer to home. The receiver in your phone does not measure distance at all. It measures time. It notices how long each signal has been traveling since it left a satellite overhead, and turns those small weights into a place on a map. The satellites say when they spoke. The phone works out how late the words are. The rest is arithmetic done quietly in the background. Imagine finding your way not by how far off a thing is, but by how old its voice sounds when it reaches you. Picture 4 faint voices arriving from 4 different heights of sky, each one late by a slightly different amount, and a small machine reading a position out of the differences between them. As you rest, know that every map you have followed lately was drawn out of lateness. There is something companionable in that. And so the signals come down, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 86. The clocks up there need a small allowance made for them. A clock on a satellite runs ahead of a clock on the ground by about 38 millionths of a second a day, mostly because it sits higher, where gravity pulls more weakly. Its own motion works the other way and takes a little of that back. Left alone, that tiny gain would push your position along by some 10 kilometers in a day. So it is not left alone. The correction was worked out beforehand and built into the clocks before they went up, set a shade slow so that they would keep the right time once in the sky. Imagine tuning an instrument for a room it has not yet entered. Picture that adjustment made once, long ago, and simply working ever since. As you rest, this is not a wonder, only careful engineering. There is comfort in a correction settled long before it was needed, and so the clocks keep their time, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 87. There is a plain rule of thumb underneath all of that. Light gets about 30 centimeters in a nanosecond, so an error of 1 nanosecond in a clock becomes an error of roughly 30 centimeters on the ground. Accurate navigation turns out not to be a matter of knowing where anything is. It is a matter of keeping time carefully enough and letting the places look after themselves. Imagine distances measured out in weighting rather than in metal. Picture engineers arguing not about distances, but about billionths of a second, because once the seconds are right, the meters follow without being asked. As you rest, there is a quiet neatness in this. We measure the world by how long light has been on its way through it, and the answer comes out in ordinary lengths, without anyone having to lay a single thing end to end. And so, time stands in for length, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 88. Telescopes work this way too, on a wider scale. Dishes standing on different continents can be aimed at the same faint thing on the same night, and their separate recordings brought together afterwards, provided each one knows to within billionths of a second when its share of the signal came in. Out of the small differences in arrival, a picture is assembled that no single dish could have made on its own. Imagine several people listening to one distant sound from different hillsides and comparing not what they heard, but exactly when they heard it. Picture the recordings carried to one room and laid alongside each other, patiently, long after the observing night is over. As you rest, this is what all of it comes down to, a signal, and a very careful note of the moment it arrived. There is nothing hurried in the method, and so the arrivals are compared, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 89. Nearly every way of measuring a distance is really a way of waiting. A laser rangefinder on a building site sends out a pulse and counts how long the pulse is gone. A radar does the same to a cloud or an aircraft. The reflectors left standing on the moon do the same over a much longer road. In each case, nothing is stretched out and nothing is laid against a rod. There is only a departure, a silence, and a return. Imagine holding a small instrument to a wall and learning the width of a room from an absence lasting billionths of a second. Picture that same absence made longer and longer until it is the width of a valley, a world, an orbit. As you rest, that is the whole of surveying, from a doorway to the sky. We send light out, and we count how long it is away, and so the pulse comes back, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 90. Even the faintest thing we listen for is caught in the same way. In two long arms laid at right angles, light is sent down and back, and the time it takes is watched with extraordinary care. When a ripple in space itself passes through, that travel time alters by a very small amount, and the alteration is the whole of the signal. Nothing is seen and nothing is heard. A very good clock simply reads a shade differently for a moment and then settles. Imagine a place where the only instrument is a timekeeper, and where news of something enormous arrives as a hesitation in it. Picture the people who built it, spending years making the timing steady enough for a hesitation that small to be trusted. As you rest, there is no drama in the moment itself. There is a great deal of patience folded into that. And so the timing is kept, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 91. Sending word outward is something people have already done. In 1974, a short radio message was sent from a large dish towards a far-off cluster of stars. A few minutes of signal arranged as a simple pattern, and then the transmitter was switched off. It is still going. It will be on its way for a very long time yet, a little further out each night. Nobody was waiting for an answer. The message was not sent in order to get one. Imagine a note put into the post with no address on it beyond a direction, written for the pleasure of having written it. Picture that pattern crossing the dark tonight, unchanged, exactly as it left the aerial. As you rest, there is nothing wistful in this. Something was sent, and it is still traveling, which is all that sending has ever meant. There is a quiet completeness in that, and so the message goes on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 92. A conversation with a star is not something the night can give, and that is a matter of scheduling rather than of loss. Even with the nearest one, a question and its answer would take the better part of 9 years to finish the round. So nobody would keep the thread of it in their head. But a correspondence works perfectly well. A letter sent tonight would arrive. The delay is a delivery time, not a refusal. Imagine writing to someone who reads slowly and answers late, and finding that the exchange still holds together, only at a different pace. Picture a message that outlives the mood it was written in, arriving whole long after the room has been repainted. As you rest, let the distance be a date rather than a door. Nothing out there is closed. Some of it simply takes longer than an evening. There is nothing shut here, only later. And so the letter travels, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 93. Our ordinary broadcasts have been going out too, without anybody meaning them to. Much of what we have sent into the air over the last 100 years carried on once it left the aerial, and by now the earliest of it lies something like 100 light years out, still spreading. It is honest to say that nobody could hear it at that range. A signal thins as it spreads and goes on thinning until it lies below the soft murmur of the sky itself. Imagine a voice that never stopped, only grew faint. Picture a whole century of ordinary evenings, music and weather and talk, moving outward in a widening shell, quiet and unread. As you rest, there is no disappointment in this. The signal is not lost. It is merely soft, and it is still going. There is something companionable in the thought of it out there, and so the old broadcasts drift on, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 94. Out in the emptiness, light does not wear out. There is almost nothing there to rub against it, and nothing to take it in. So it does not fade with age, and it does not slow. It only spreads, thinner and wider, going on at exactly the pace it set out with. A beam that left long ago is still the same beam tonight. Imagine something that cannot get tired, has no reason to stop, and is under no obligation to arrive by any particular hour. Picture every signal ever sent from this world, every reflected evening, every stray word, all of it still moving outward, and none of it finished. As you rest, that is the state of things. Nothing that was ever sent has been called back. It is all still going, quietly, in every direction at once, and none of it is in any hurry. And so it all keeps going, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 95. And here is what the lateness is for. Because light takes time, the past stays visible. If everything arrived at once, there would be only now, and whatever had happened would be gone as it was done. Instead, the old light keeps coming in, and a telescope is the plainest instrument that looks at something already finished and sees it with its own eyes rather than remembering it. Imagine a room where the earlier part of the evening is still standing in the far corner, waiting to be looked at. Picture someone watching an event that ended before there were people at all, watching it as it happens, because the news is only now getting here. As you rest, let that be the gift inside the delay. It is not a wall between us and anything. It is the reason there is anything to see. There is nothing lost in any of it. And so the past arrives, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 96. That is used on purpose. To look further is to look earlier, and the two cannot be pulled apart. So a telescope is also a way of choosing a date.
Aimed near, it gives a picture that is nearly current. Aimed far, it gives an older one. Older by precisely as much as it is distant. Everything we know about how the sky once looked, we know only because light does not hurry. Imagine a shelf where the volumes are arranged not by subject, but by the year each one was written. Picture someone choosing a depth the way another might choose a year, and being handed the sky as it was then. As you rest, there is no need to hold the idea. There is only this: patience and distance turn out to be one thing, seen from two sides. And so the older light comes in, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 97. Once in a great while something arrives that shows this plainly. The light of a star that came apart, very far away and very long ago, reached the Earth in the last century, and people who were alive that week walked outside and saw it with their own eyes. The event itself had been over for an age. The sky here had simply not been told yet.
Imagine a letter posted before anybody now living was born, delivered on an ordinary morning to a house that was built long afterwards. Picture the observatories opening that night. All of them pointed at the same finished thing as it finally came in. As you rest, there is nothing sad in a delay like that. Nothing was missed. The news came exactly when it could, and there was somebody here to receive it. There is a kindness in a message that keeps. And so the old light arrived, resting quietly in the dark.
Fact 98. Look up at any hour, and the whole of it is arriving. Not one part of the night sky is a picture being held still. Every point of it is light coming in at that moment, having set out at some time of its own, and all of it delivered together into the same pair of eyes. It is a delivery that never pauses and never has. Imagine standing in a doorway where the post keeps coming, every letter written on a different day, all of them handed over at once. Picture how steady it is. No gaps, nothing withheld, nothing held back for later, night after night, whether anyone looks up or not. As you rest, know that it is going on above the roof at this very moment, as it was last night. There is always something coming in, and so it keeps arriving, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 99. It has been one measurement all along at different lengths. The lamp in the room, late by billionths of a second, the face in the mirror, a little older than the face in front of it. The moon, a second and a bit behind. The sun, 8 minutes old by the time it reaches the window. The planets, minutes or hours away, depending on where everyone is.
the old craft at the edge, most of a day. The nearest star, a few years. The faint smudge overhead, older than anyone who could have looked up at it. Imagine those set out in a line, each one the same idea at a longer setting. Picture what runs through all of them. Not size, not distance, only the age of what is being seen. As you rest, nothing more needs adding. There is one measure under all of it, the whole way down. And so the ages arrive together, resting quietly in the dark. Fact 100. And the last of it is the simplest. The lateness is not a wall standing between you and anything. It is the reason there is a sky to look at. The reason the past can be seen at all. And the reason nothing that has ever happened is entirely gone.
Nothing out there asks you to keep up with it. Imagine everything that is on its way to this world tonight, coming in at its own steady pace, needing nothing at all from you. Picture the sky as a quiet archive that stays open all night, its shelves filled by how long each thing took to arrive, tended by nobody. As you rest, there is nothing to catch and nothing to miss. Whatever is coming is already traveling, and it will arrive whether you are awake for it or not. There is no hurry left anywhere in this, and so there is nothing here to wait for, resting quietly in the dark. Sleep now. And so it all keeps arriving quietly in its own time. The lamp is a few billionths of a second late. The mirror hands your face back a moment after it was made. The moon is a second and a bit behind, and the sun is 8 minutes old by the time it warms the window. The faint stars overhead are older still, some by centuries, and none of it is in any hurry. Nothing out there is lost. Light does not wear out in empty space. It only spreads and goes on going. Everything ever sent is still on its way somewhere. The delay is not a wall. It is the only reason the past can be seen at all. The sky keeping its old letters until somebody is here to read them. There is nothing left to do tonight, and nothing you need to remember. Let your breathing slow. Rest now. Whatever is coming will arrive without any help from you.